Well, good morning everybody to another episode of Ken Show and Tell and recommissioning this 1959 Mercedes Benz 220S W180 Ponton Sedan. We're going to continue working on the fuel system, and what we are doing now is that we have drained the fuel tank. If you remember in the previous videos, we removed this crappy worn out screen here, and we have loosened the three 13mm nuts, 1, 2, and there's a third one right up there if you can see it. We have also loosened this fuel filler hose or pipe from this hose here. We loosened this breather pipe from the tank hose right here, and we've taken out the fuel sender unit. We've loosened this. We took this pipe off. This one, after literally 2 weeks of PB Blaster and Kroll, I could not get this pipe to spin freely in here, so I resorted to, with lots of careful thinking, cutting the pipe here cleanly with a proper pipe cutter in preparation for taking those final nuts out, as well as connections to the car. I have this under hoist stand, and I've raised it up to the base of here. It's just touching with this piece of wood. And let's take out these other bolts and see how that does, and lower this down. At least that's the plan. All three nuts are out. I've got it pressed up against there, so it looks like it's going to fall out. So I'll gently take this thing down. Let me show you over here. Here are the washers, the three washers and the nuts. I will clean those up and paint them. They are pretty nasty. Who knows how long they've been in there? Probably forever. But they came out easily after a couple of weeks of PB Blaster. I'm gonna have to study this. You see, it wants to fall out. Here's this that was sticking up there. That could be some sort of a vent, I don't know. And then here's another one, another vent right here. And see, it's loose. I'll show you what the hang up is. Right here and up here. These do not come apart. I do not want to drop this. Okay, experienced people, the labs continue. I've got it worked down this far. All those bolts out I talked to you about. This line cut, which I'll now be able to get it out, and I'll be able to splice this line back together up here. And I had to undo this brace here and this bracket here for the exhaust to give me a little room here. There's not a lot of bounce up and down wiggle room here, but I did discover I do not have to take off this bracket back here or loosen the muffler from this bracket. I've discovered that if I lower this down and angle it in such a way, I can, looks like, see how this has been, I've been able to work this through here and the filler spout down here. So I think I'm about to pull this thing out. Here we go. All right. Woo. There's the beast. Eek. Okay. Let's just look at this empty space. You can see this where the sending unit goes up. You know, here's the chase for the wiring in the floor right there. So this is what the bolts look like right here and right here that hold the tank up, and then this one up here. Okay, and then this looks really nice under here. I think I ought to hit this with a lick of rust inhibitor paint all up in here. I was able to find a new gasket, so I'm going to take this one off. And here's the tank on the bench. I don't know if you're going to be able to see anything with this camera. Let's try this. You can get a glimpse. It's kind of nasty in there. We're looking through the top of the tank, which is the hole for the sending unit. But you can get an idea, I think. It's it's not what you'd want to put back on the car, even though I think people have. Let's turn it over. Look at the bottom of the tank. Well, here's the bottom. I've always wondered how those reserve and main pipes work. Look at this. You see there's a short one and a long one, and they run side by side. The long one, that is the one sticking deepest into the tank, is your reserve, and the short one running alongside is your main tank, or your main draw from the tank. That explains why the tank sieve sits right here in this hole, right there. I think that's interesting. So that has to be flushed out, and I can probably flush that out from the lines themselves. Now this is interesting. I wanted you guys to hear this. Listen, I know there's rain coming down again, but listen for the crap, the dry crap inside this tank. Listen. I'm going to drag it, and then we're going to tip it up. Oh, you hear it? That's just what's loose. Simple green concentrate. I'm just spraying it in here and just rotating the tank as I do it. And this is just a preliminary sort of, let's see how much I can knock loose. I'll try to do it, at least from a preliminary point of view, from all the openings. Ooh, and sort of slosh in there. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. This is the next day working on this tank and carrying the tank over to the workbench. I could hear rust particles in there, but nothing like it was. So we're going to go into phase 2 of this tank cleaning and restoration. So what I'm going to do now is plug up holes, this little vent hole here and this vent pipe here, and I'll plug up the where you put the fuel in here, and I'll turn it over on the back or the bottom and plug the drain hole as well. I was able to find plugs that worked on all the openings I wanted to plug up initially, except for the bottom, which is where the original plug went in, where you drained the tank and where the filter was. You remember this old one I pulled out? Well, I cleaned it up, and it's going to make the perfect plug to put on the bottom of that tank. Well, actually 3 things about this Evapo-Rust that I found attractive and maybe wanted to try it. One, it's water-based, and so you clean up with water, which is relatively non-toxic. 2, you keep using the solution until it quits working. At the consistency you can see of kind of like water, which means it will flow anywhere. And so this is my plan. If I didn't make it clear, I'm going to put this entire 5-gallon bucket in this tank and let it sit, and then I have the bottom plugged, and I'm going to plug this, and then we're going to rotate this thing around, have all the holes plugged, and we're going to just let it eat the rust away in there. So far this is working out better than I anticipated. Down in here. Now I'm at the bottom of the tank. Put my finger here. Let's just see. It's right. Run my finger down here. Looks like it's sitting right about here, which makes sense. So it's about 1/3 of a tank. All 5 gallons of Evapo-Rust is in this tank. The good news is that the tank is not showing any evidence of leaking. I would see it on this bench here, and that's a very good sign. So as it's eating away the rust, we'll see if that lack of leaking continues. And it's been soaking overnight, and I had it in 2 different positions. I just put it in a third one. But what I'm doing now is with acetone and a brush and a rag and a little chisel, I'm cleaning up all this residue where this old cork gasket was, and cleaning up the threads on these studs here. And the reason I'm doing that, of course, is in preparation for the new cork gasket. But more immediately, it is for this doohickey I just made. And I'll punch these holes I've drilled in, and they match, and I'll punch it through this rubber. And this is just a piece of steel that I roughly cut out, very roughly, into a circle that would fit there and have rubber over it. And the idea is that this will fit over there, and I'll use the original nuts to hold that in place with some bigger washers and to seal this, because I have to seal this if I'm going to turn the tank over. The glistening you see here is Kroll, making this go down smoother and cleaner, also cleaning out the threads and the studs. And I'm hoping that these little pieces here spreads out the pressure more on my little temporary plate here I made to seal this. Now I can turn this thing over upside down, so to speak. Well, here it is. I don't know how many days later, but I know it's over 10 days later of Evapo-Rust in this tank after degreasing with Simple Green, rotating it and moving it multiple times during the day. And now we're going to drain it out, the Evapo-Rust out of this tank. I'm going to start using this spigot and then catch the debris in this cloth. You can see I just tried it. There's some debris that's fallen out. If you remember, the Evapo-Rust, when we put it in the tank, it was nice and clear. Now it's got an amber color, and it's picking up rust particles coming out of there. But this would work only so far, and then I ran into venting problems, and I decided, okay, I'll undo it from here, and that solved my venting problems. And guess what? It came gushing out like a geyser. Some on the floor, mostly in the bucket. Let's just look at this cloth here. Not a whole lot of metal chunks right there. Let's open this up. I'll go ahead and take these off. Oh, it's slippery. All right, pull this out, and ooh, look at that dark. Okay, before it was very clear like water, and now look at that. I can feel the air rushing out of there, so we'll let this serve as our vent. Well, it doesn't look so bad. At least we know it's full. No big chunks. You know, the water's out of here. So let's just take these nuts out of here. Well, I was going to put more Evapo-Rust in there, and I got to thinking about it and decided I would do something different. So I went out with the tank on the back of the golf cart and flushed it out really good, multiple times, filled it up all the way, took this plate off here, and so I could fill it up from here and spray it high pressure all the way around, and more rust came out. And then I've got this hair dryer set up like this, and it is going to run till this tank is dry. Yesterday I removed the hair dryer from here to here, and I think I'm getting better dryer action. You can feel the warm air coming up out of here. Let's see if this thing can hear it. Here's the painted gas tank. You're looking at the top of it. Fuel sender would go here, and it's all cleaned on the inside and sealed. I'll qualify that by saying as best I could. Getting ready to put the fuel tank in this freshly painted area here. And let me show you the rest of underneath the car. I've gone through and painted it. Looks pretty good. I used a rust inhibitor / rust encapsulator paint. Well, it was a struggle, but the fuel tank is in. The strainer I bought from Authentic Classic doesn't fit, so I'll have to do some more research and find one that does. It's too late to send it back. They have a 14-day window. All this stuff is connected. I want to reconnect that up into there somehow. And I've reconnected all this up in there. It actually looks better than it did. And over here too. And if you walk over here, I still have to reconnect these lines and figure out what I'm going to do here. I just have to move that over and then figure out how I'm going to do with the electric fuel pump. It might be going right up there. I'm not quite sure. I have decided I'm going to use it, I think. Okay. So the fuel tank is now complete.